What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track, back with another video. Voice is a little scratchy from Daytona. Just got back yesterday from that amazing race. Had a lot of fun. Definitely check the channel. Going to be tons of content that I release from that weekend. The rain wouldn't stop us. In the group I went with, we held tough. I did have to change flights, postpone things to make sure I wasn't missing that Great American race. But I did what I had to do because I was not missing the Daytona 500. With that, I want to say I feel like I should issue a public apology for that card I put out, because that betting card and those bets I put out, absolute trash. We lost everything, didn't win a single thing, not one single bet hit. And it's weird because we it wasn't like the bets weren't bad. Chase Elliott won a stage. He had a fast hot rod. Keselowski looked good. David Reagan was running second place for most of the second stage. Priest had a super fast hot rod. Just and honestly, and was leading at points. He didn't get credit for any laps, but he was leading a line and took the lead at several portions of the second stage. Speeding penalty for him. He goes a lap down. He couldn't recover. But even at the end, like prior to the big wreck, with whatever, 10 or 8 to go, he's running third. He's just a lap down. He looked great. Kyle Busch looked great. I mean, she basically blew up coming off pit road, goes back. It starts at the tail end of the field, drives his way back up to the front. He and Chase Elliott at the end are trying to make a move. That doesn't work. The card wasn't. Haley looked good. He led at some points. I mean, the card was fine. It just didn't go our way, unfortunately, and that happens sometimes. The Daytona 500 super speedways in general are tough. That is why this week I'll be betting a lot lighter. It's tough to win one super speedway, let alone back to back. So I'm sure a lot of people are also kind of reducing the bet, going back to back on super speedways, especially if you hit the Daytona 500. There's no need to throw out money for another crazy race, which I expect Atlanta to be. But yeah, so just wanted to issue that apology. Appreciate the viewership, you guys. I see it and I appreciate it. That won't happen again. Maybe it could happen this week because it's a super speedway. You never know. But once we get into the good tracks, where the data and statistics really leans into who's going to be fast, who's going to win the races, that's when we'll heat up. I'm not worried the slightest. It's the Daytona 500, and I was there really more just to enjoy it. But here we go. So we're going to be betting Atlanta this weekend, Sunday afternoon race. Real quick, I'll add the NASCAR betting preview show, the partnership with them. If you're listening via the podcast and the audio only, appreciate that. Wednesday nights is the NASCAR betting preview show, 8 p.m. on X. They do a space. It's a great show. Definitely listen in. I'm actually a day late recording this, so if this does drop, meaning the audio portion on Wednesday, I know the YouTube portion will. But the audio portion, make sure you check out the Twitter Spaces show, or the X Spaces show, rather, 8 p.m. on X, NASCAR betting preview show. So there it is. With that, we'll get right into the bets. Doing things a little bit different. I don't want to give direct bets, quite frankly, because it's a super speedway, and this is mostly how I give out super speedway picks. I know last week for the 500 I gave out bets, but that's kind of an exception when we do super speedways. So at super speedways more, I'm just going to tell you who I like and who the numbers back up. And I'm going to start with some sleepers. So the first guy I'm looking at this week, and maybe this is a top 10 bet. Maybe this is a top 4 bet. I'm not sure how you place that. I'm probably leaning towards a top 10, but always Johnny on the track on Action Network for my bets at JOTT_podcast on X for the final card as well. So Noah Gragson, the 10 car. He's at speed here. And pretty much every time he's raced here, he's been pretty good, Noah Gragson. And on top of that, if we remember last year, Eric Almirola in the 10, same car, led the most laps here in the second race in Atlanta, won the pole. He looked good. Gregson coming off a great performance at top 10 at the Daytona 500. Maybe he rides that confidence, but Gregson, the track history with the super speedway configuration of Atlanta, in the speed of that car and what we saw last year, I think Noah Gregson's going to be running up front. And Stuart Haas has been exceptional at super speedways the last couple of years. Really, the only thing they've been good at in the next gen era. So I like Gregson here. As long as he's not caught up in anything, I think he's going to have a fast hot rod and be up front. Another guy, Austin Cindric, and if you look at Cindric, you break down the numbers. All the metrics say that Austin Cindric at Atlanta rather is a can't miss prospect, if you will. Speed, average running position, total driver rating, and that's all brought. Those stats come from iFantasy Race. I know I shout him out, but we're in a new season. So Ryan, iFantasyRace.com, the best giving out the stats in the business. He's got it all. But Cindric, his only win right in the Cup Series came at a super speedway. He's an exceptional super speedway racer dating back to the Xfinity Series. I think he's a can't miss guy. I think if you can get him at the right number, you look at him, quite frankly, as a winner. But I like Austin Cindric in this spot, coming off I would say a good run. I know the finish didn't reflect it. He and LaJoie got into it at the end, and the finish really didn't reflect what the car and position Cindric was in heading to the white. But I like Cindric here. I think he's going to be good. And then I mentioned LaJoie, another driver that has a great track history here, coming off a good run at Daytona, top 5 finish for him. His team, Spire Motorsports, they've been upgraded this year. He thinks they should be in the playoffs. Is this his time? And if you think it is, Atlanta's probably the track that best suits his style to win a NASCAR Cup Series race. He's got 2 straight top 5s at the Atlanta spring, winter, whatever you want to call this race, back-to-back top 5s. Both of them, when he did finish, they were his best finish in the Cup Series. So LaJoie, very confident here, coming off a good run at Daytona. I like him in this spot, and that car always seems to have speed at Atlanta. That team just knows how to take advantage of this track, and the changing configuration has really benefited these smaller teams, especially Spire, who I don't even know if we should call a small team anymore. This is a 3-car team. Like I said, made those upgrades. I expect this Chevy team to be pretty stout at Atlanta. Things to note about Atlanta, it's skinny, it's tough to pass. You really can't fit 3 wide. So, strategy comes down to it. The guy that, is leading a line tends to lead a lot of laps. You see at the Daytona 500, you see a lot of different guys lead laps, maybe sometimes like 20 different drivers, plus sometimes like lead laps. Here at Atlanta, it's not like that. Their Chase Elliott, when he won what was that? Not last year, the year before in the Atlanta summer race, he won the first stage, won the second stage, and won the race. And that's kind of crazy to see at a super speedway, but it just shows you Atlanta's tough to pass. You got to play your cards right. Once you get up front, you feel confident about yourself. Another quick stat to note, Hendrick and Chevrolet, Hendrick specifically, but they're a Chevy camp team. 3 of the last 4 wins here. Byron and Elliott make up those 3 wins. And then if you look at speed rankings, JGR and Hendrick have had the most green flag speed here in total speed. So those JGR, Toyota, nothing to show for it. Toyota does not have a win on the super speedway configuration of Atlanta, but they have been fast. Like I said, JGR, Hendrick have been the 2 kind of top tier teams. But with that, I do like some Fords. Logano won this very race last year. I think he's going to be good. I like Blaney fourth in total speed rankings here in the super speedway configuration. We know what Blaney can do at super speedway tracks. He's got 3 top 10s at Atlanta in the configuration and 4 races. And quite frankly, like if you look at the numbers and finishing, he's as good as it gets. I think only I would say better in terms of finish, average running position, all that stuff is Chase Elliott. Chase has been spectacular. And I'm targeting Chase again this week. I know he was my big bet for the 500. That didn't come to fruition, but I think all those Hendrick drivers you need to take a look at. Do I think Byron can win back to back on super speedways? Man, that would be tough. But I like his teammates. I like Bowman. I like Elliott. I think Elliott is going to have a great shot to win here. And then Keselowski is another guy I'm looking at. He let this very race slip away last year, quite frankly. He had it and lost it. Last lap pass by Joey Logano, who, you know, like I said, Joey's going to be fast here. But Brad, again, looked good at the Daytona 500. I feel like Brad can definitely get his revenge this Sunday at Atlanta. Again, it's tough to pass. So though the speed, although it doesn't make a huge difference at the Daytona 500, at Atlanta, I think it does. Because if you can, you know, find your way up to the front or strategize your way to the front, it is tough to get past and lose that lead. You're really battling with the leader of the other line. So those are the guys I like here. Again, I'm going to put out the final card on Sunday morning before the race. I might put some bets for value in as the week goes on. That those you can see at Action Network, Johnny on the Track on Action Network. But I think Hendrick is going to be good. I think those top name Fords are going to be Stout and Kesey and Blaney. And then I look at those sleeper picks, maybe those long shots, Noah Gragson, Corey LaJoie, Austin Cindric. I think those guys are those bets, maybe those prop bets you look at, top Ford, top Chevrolet, maybe top 10s, top 5s, whatever you're thinking. I like those guys as well for kind of those long shot dark horse picks, if you will. So those are the bets I'm giving out, or I guess the drivers to watch for and target on Sunday. Like I said, keep an eye on Johnny on the Track on Action Network and at JOTT_podcast on X as the bets continue to unfold for me throughout the weekend. I would advise not putting a ton of money on this. Next week is when we start to get some tracks that favor the better a little bit more, quite frankly. Although, you know, if you do hit one of these winners, it's going to be a long shot because that's the beauty of betting super speedways. But it really comes down to luck, quite frankly, who avoids the big one if there is one. I will say, and if I forget if I mentioned this, but in the Atlanta Super Speedway package era, we've had 4 races. A big name has won all 4: William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Joey Logano. Byron winning 2. So it seems like speed, like I said, plays the biggest factor at this super speedway track. And on top of that, as a phone is ringing in the background here, you know, speed plays a big part. And, you know, the better teams and better drivers just tend to win here due to the configuration. So I'm sorry that phone ringing got me a little bit off track there. But I would just keep that in mind. So I think you got to look for a big name to bet on this Sunday. There it is. Appreciate you guys watching. Give this video a like, goes a long way for the channel. If you were listening on the podcast feed, appreciate that as well. Subscribe for more content. If you like anything motorsports related, you know the place to find it is here on Johnny on the Track. And comment who you are looking at this Sunday to target in the comment section below. Tell me if I'm crazy. I'll tell you rather if you're crazy. With that, let's have a week. Let's win some money. And yeah, not happy with Daytona. So we got to have a little bit of a revenge game here. Thanks for watching, guys.